So let's talk about abolishing war. Sounds like a total fantasy, right? I mean, we're always told it's just human nature, an inevitable tragedy we're all just stuck with. But what if that's not the whole story? What if we've been looking at the problem completely backwards?
You know, this line from Kurt Vonnegut just nails that feeling of hopelessness. He compared writing an anti war book to writing an anti glacier book. Like, what's the point? It's an unstoppable force of nature. But here's the beautiful irony: we now know we can melt glaciers. And that crucial shift in what we think is possible, that's exactly what we're digging into today. And that brings us to the artist Krzysztof Wodiczko. His idea is, well, it's pretty out there. He proposes taking one of the most famous war memorials on the planet, the Arc de Triomphe, and encasing it in this huge, transparent structure. Now, the goal isn't to hide it, no way. It's to transform it into something totally new: the World Institute for the Abolition of War. So this gets to the absolute heart of the whole project. What does that even mean, to disarm a monument? I mean, can you change how we see a massive structure of stone and metal, and in doing so, actually begin to change the culture of war itself? Okay, so to really get what he's proposing, we first have to understand the target. And this isn't just any old statue. We're talking about one of the most powerful and symbolic military structures on Earth. The Arc de Triomphe is basically a masterclass in glorifying war, and it is not subtle about it. The entire thing is just plastered with the names of military victories, of generals. The sculptures on it show peace as something you only get through winning a war. And at its very center lies the tomb of the unknown soldier. It's basically a giant, powerful engine designed to pump out nationalism and celebrate conquest. And here we hit on something really crucial. Monuments like the Ark, they tell a story historians call monumental history, which is really just the story told by the winners, right? It's the highlight reel. Wodiczko's project wants to force a shift to what's called critical history, the kind that asks tough questions like, who really holds the power here? What caused this conflict to begin with? It's about understanding the roots, not just celebrating the outcome. Right. So the Ark isn't just a building. It's a symptom of something much, much bigger, what you might call the culture of war. And this culture of war, it's everywhere, often in ways we don't even clock. It's in the big, obvious things like military parades, sure, but it's also in the war toys we give our kids, or even in professional job titles. It's this whole system that subtly makes conflict seem normal, necessary, maybe even honorable. So by encasing the Ark, the Institute completely flips its meaning. It's no longer this revered object you're supposed to admire. Instead, it becomes a gigantic specimen, like it's under a microscope. It's treated almost like a pathogen, a virus, that we need to study clinically so we can finally figure out a cure for the disease of war. But here's where it gets even deeper. The project argues this culture isn't just something out there. To really truly understand war, we have to look inside ourselves. And this leads to a pretty challenging idea: the inner war memorial. The theory here is that, in a way, we are all living, breathing monuments to conflict. That war isn't just an event that happens out in the world, but something that's also buried deep down in our own unconscious. Okay, so a psychoanalyst named Franco Fornari broke this down into 3 steps. First, he says we all have these aggressive impulses inside us. It's just part of being human. Second, to get rid of the terror of our own destructive side, we project it. We push it outward, onto an enemy. And third, we invest this violence in the state. We basically hand it over, letting the government manage it for us, which conveniently allows us to feel totally blameless.
Man, this quote from Fornari just gets right to the point. He's saying that on some unconscious level, it's us who desire war. We just use the state as a proxy so we can tell ourselves we're not responsible. It's a profound and, let's be honest, a deeply uncomfortable idea.
So if that's the diagnosis, but the cultural part and the psychological part, what's the treatment? Well, this brings us right back to Wodiczko's Institute and this practice of unwar. The project uses this very specific word, unwar. Now, you got to get this. It is not the same as peace. Peace is often just a pause, right? A state of war expected, where everyone is just reloading. Unwar, on the other hand, is an action. It's an active, ongoing process. It's the daily work of disarmament, a conscious effort to undo the culture of war, piece by piece. And the Institute is designed to be a real practical place to do this work. It's not just a pretty shell. The design includes ramps and platforms to give you new, critical ways to see the old monument. It would have media screens showing the real human cost of every war. It would be a forum for global conferences, a center for developing actual peace projects. It's meant to be an active, working, educational space. But in the end, this isn't just about one building in one city. The project's vision is so much bigger. It's actually aiming for a whole new kind of global politics.
And the end game here is really political. The idea is, if we can recognize how we've invested our own aggression into state violence, we can start to consciously take it back. We can withdraw our consent. So the goal is to challenge the absolute power of the state, its sovereignty, not from the top down through treaties, but from below, by individuals reclaiming that responsibility.
This table really helps put What It Goes idea into perspective. You can see how it's part of a long tradition of thinking about peace. You had someone like Kant, who was all about international laws between states, then Fernari, who focused on national justice systems. What It Goes approach is coming from a completely different direction. It's not governmental, it's cultural, it's about public conversation. It operates in the world of symbols and ideas.
And so this brings us right back to where we started. The whole incredible project leaves us with this one massive question. If the seeds of war really are hidden deep inside our own minds, can an act of art, simply changing the way we look at a monument, genuinely begin the process of disarming ourselves? It's a monumental question, and maybe, just maybe, a monumental hope.